evening, everyone. We're here live at the Bristol East and West election counts. We're about to interview Bristol Mayor Marvin Rees.
I wanted to ask, as a generic question, how do you think tonight will change the future of this country?
Well, I'm concerned that my experience of the Conservative leadership is not enough of an emphasis on protecting our planet, and we know that their manifesto was assessed to be incredibly poor. We know of the climate emergency. This is you can't overstate the amount of concern we have around that. And I think it's been a government that's had a track record of showing not enough concern for poor people and tackling inequality. And we know that we have unprecedented levels of inequality that are undermining our society. So I'm concerned about that. I am hopeful that we might get the investment in local government we need now. We do so much of the early intervention in local government. So we'll have to wait and see.
Roughly, off the top of your head, do you know how much investment you get, currently for Bristol?
Well, we as a city spend spending just over £1 billion, about 1.1 billion a year, in the city. But since 2010, local government has lost over 60 pence in every pound that they used to get from national government. I mean, that's phenomenal. And what do we spend money on, local government level? Children's mental health, housing, bus subsidies, right? Special educational needs, council tax reduction scheme. These are the things that we spend money on. And when you take resource away from us, obviously it impacts on our ability to do those things. I might even add lawyers and planners who bring land forward so we can build homes on them, and then negotiate with private developers so we get our share of affordable homes. These are all things that we do that are impacted by government cuts.
How do you think the potential no deal Brexit will affect Bristol and the city, since there are so many living in Bristol?
Yeah, well, it's on two fronts, right? One is the practical impact. So we know that we face a number of heightened risks, and this is just the way it is, right? Care workers, adult social care, it's a real risk to us. We've got businesses losing orders on the continent, and there's a foul factory on the waterfront. Even beyond you talking about politics, what the owner was telling me was they've got people phoning, when their staff phone up to say, do you want to buy our valve still? They're saying, no. You want to leave? Leave. We're not even talking about policy, trade policy. We're talking about personal reaction to the UK from businesses on the continent who buy our stuff. So we know we have risks. But I think there's a cultural impact as well. And actually, some of the messaging around Brexit makes me feel uncomfortable, right? I'm born here with a British passport. But in those concentric circles of belonging, I'm not in the middle circle, right? I'm one or two out. And I'm concerned about the culture that's being released, the kind of behaviours and values that are being endorsed in a vote that makes Boris Johnson Prime Minister. I'm not saying, I don't want to overjudge, it's not my place to overjudge someone. All I can go on is the pickaninnies, the watermelon smiles, the tank top bum boys, the derogatory comments about women, the loose connection to the truth, right? All I can go on is that and say that culture in a leader, right, is one that concerns me. And I don't think as a country you can escape from a leader behaving like that.
So how do you think citizens of Bristol will feel if the Conservatives win the general election, seeing as Bristol is generally Labour-centric?
Well, I think most people in Bristol will obviously feel disappointed. I mean, there are Conservative votes in the city, but many people will feel frustrated. But those people that did vote Conservative, whether it be for the party or because they floated over from Brexit and they want Brexit, will obviously have a degree of relief about it, But as a city as a whole, we're quite a Remain city and a bit of a Labour island in a sea of Tory and Lib Dem.
What do you think the impact of having a Conservative government will have on issues in the city, such as social care, homelessness, mental health, etc.?
Well, I can tell you the impact it has had. in that it has driven need, it has driven up demand for those services, because when you begin to disinvest in your population, you make them more vulnerable, right? When you begin to withdraw services, early intervention, school funding, right, people become more vulnerable. And on the other side, then when you don't fund the services in the face of the increase in demand you're created, you get more need. And what's happened is the responsibility is being rolled downhill onto local government shoulders, from national politicians saying we're making difficult decisions. They're not making difficult decisions. We are, right? People choosing between heating and eating are making difficult decisions, not the Chancellor with an Excel sheet, right? Dealing with his theories of economics. So I know the impact it has had, and it's been appalling. People have died because of bad policy. What they do going forward, now what we've had is over the last few weeks is a series of what feels to me a very consumer-based model of politics, which is I'll give you this, you vote for me and I'll give you all these things, purchasing your vote. I think it's a really, I know no party's free of it, but I think it's a really bankrupt form of politics. Actually, the electorate needs to get beyond that as well. We need to start saying, look, this is the kind of person I am, these are my priorities, do you want to work with me to deliver them? Not, I'm going to spend £1 billion on you, so give me your vote. That's transaction, it's not good enough like that anymore. So I'm really concerned. But let's see what happens. We have to work with the government, and the government needs to work with us. And I hope that they can appreciate the scale of ambition and potential there is in Bristol and pull it together.
Going back to the political parties, what do you think, what's your opinion of the coalition pact, so between the Greens, Lib Dems and the Plaid Cymru?
So I can understand somewhat of what they were trying to do. I must say, I will say, I'm particularly disappointed though. I don't think there was a full level of integrity in it. So Bristol West, for example, Thangam Devannair is a Remain MP. If your whole focus was about Remain and you're saying this was the big issue, you wouldn't run, Lib Dems and Greens wouldn't collude to run a Green against Thangam, because Thangam's a Remain MP. So what happened by running a Green against Thangam? You sucked all that Labour energy into Bristol West. If it was Thangam versus a Tory, everyone could have rallied to support Thangam, the sitting Remain MP, and then a lot of energy could have then gone out to Filton and Bradley Stoke, Kingswood and Rees-Mogg's constituency to actually fight the party that were actually going for Brexit. And I have a real issue with that. So I have an issue with saying you're for something when your actions are not for it. And I'm not claiming I'm a saint, but to me that's blatantly obvious. You did not need to run a Green on the basis of Brexit against Thangam, and even on the environment, as Friends of the Earth pointed out, the Labour Party's manifesto was better than all the parties on environment. So on your two key issues you say are your most important issues, Labour's delivering, and yet you still run against them, and you suck all that energy into Bristol West, and you let the surrounding constituencies off, like North West, for example, where the Conservatives are running a really strong campaign. And that needs to be thought about, and people need to be held to account for that, because I think that's pretty poor.
Thank you.
Yes,
All right.
very much.
Okay.